The Galactic Academy's Advanced Combat Theory class had always been Annie's favorite place to disappear. She sat in the back row, her human frame smaller than most of her classmates, her presence barely registering among the towering Kryn warriors and the sleek Vexian strategists. Professor Ecather droned on about historical battles, his 6 eyes scanning the room with practiced boredom. Annie kept her head down, taking notes in her worn datapad. This was how she survived quiet, unassuming, forgettable. Just another human trying to make it through the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy. Miss Annie, the professor's voice cut through the lecture hall. Perhaps you can enlighten us on the Battle of Sigma 7? Annie's heart sank. She looked up slowly, meeting dozens of curious eyes. I'm not sure, Professor. Maybe the Kryn forces used superior numbers? A few snickers echoed through the classroom. Massey, the golden-scaled Vexian sitting 3 rows ahead, turned to glance at her with something between pity and amusement in his reptilian eyes. Incorrect, Ecather sighed. Does anyone actually know their military history? Massey raised his clawed hand. The battle was won through tactical deception, Professor. The smaller force feigned retreat, drawing the enemy into a canyon kill zone. Excellent. Cadet Massey, at least someone is paying attention. Annie returned to her notes, her jaw tight. She knew the Battle of Sigma 7 intimately. She had studied every tactical movement, every communication intercept, every casualty report. But revealing that knowledge would raise questions she couldn't afford to answer. The semester continued in the same pattern. Annie remained invisible while Massey excelled, his tactical analysis earning praise from every instructor. They had spoken only once, a brief exchange in the library where he'd asked if she was lost. She had mumbled something about finding the xenobiology section and hurried away. Feeling his curious gaze follow her, everything changed on Revelation Day. The Academy's annual tradition involved reviewing historical war footage. To honor those who had served, students gathered in the grand amphitheater, the massive holographic display flickering to life above them. This year's focus was the siege of Terminus Station, humanity's desperate last stand against the Vraxian swarm 3 years prior. Annie felt her stomach drop. She had requested academic leave that day, but Dean Cortna had denied it. Mandatory attendance for all cadets, the message had read. The footage began. Terminus Station hung in the void, surrounded by millions of Vraxian bioships. The situation looked hopeless. Then the human defense fleet appeared, only 12 ships against an armada. The humans knew they were outnumbered, the narrator's voice echoed. But they also knew retreat meant the death of 50,000 civilians trapped on the station. Annie's hands gripped the armrests of her seat. She couldn't look away. The hologram zoomed in on the flagship, the UES Defiant. The camera focused on the bridge, and Annie's breath caught in her throat. There she was, younger, harder, wearing the uniform of a fleet commander. Her voice rang out clearly through the amphitheater. All ships, listen closely. We're not going to win by fighting fair. We're going to win because we're willing to do what they won't expect. The entire amphitheater had gone silent. Someone in the front row whispered, "Is that?" Annie watched her past self orchestrate the impossible. She had divided her tiny fleet into seemingly suicidal attack patterns, each ship broadcasting false signatures to appear as dozens. She had exploited the Vraxian hive mind's dependency on pheromone coordination, using electromagnetic pulses at precise intervals to create artificial confusion. The footage showed the Defiant making a direct run at the Vraxian Queen ship, seemingly on a collision course. Every admiral watching from Earth had screamed for her to pull back. Instead, she had waited until the last possible second, then executed a gravity assist maneuver around a nearby moon. That sent the Defiant skipping across the Vraxian formation like a stone on water, her weapons tearing through their unprotected flanks. Commander Annie Reeves, the narrator continued, became the youngest recipient of the Stellar Cross, humanity's highest military honor. Her tactical brilliance saved Terminus Station and turned the tide of the war. She destroyed 73% of the Vraxian fleet with minimal casualties. The lights came up. Every head in the amphitheater turned toward the back row. Annie sat frozen, her secret laid bare before 1,000 eyes. She wanted to run, to disappear, to become invisible again. But there was nowhere to go. Massey was the first to move. He stood, his expression unreadable, and began to clap, slowly, deliberately. Then another student joined him. Then another. Within seconds, the entire amphitheater erupted in thunderous applause. Annie felt tears burning her eyes. She had hidden for so long, afraid of judgment, afraid of expectations, afraid of being seen as either a hero or a fraud. Professor Ekather appeared at her row, his expression sheepish. "Commander Reeves, I had no idea. Your records showed only that you'd completed mandatory service. I requested privacy." Annie said quietly, "I came here to learn, not to be treated differently. Why hide such extraordinary achievements?" He asked. Annie stood, facing the still applauding crowd. "Because I wanted to know if I could be just Annie, not Commander Reeves, not a war hero, just me." Massey approached, extending his clawed hand. "I think I owe you an apology. All those questions you answered wrong. You were letting us learn, weren't you?" Annie managed a small smile, shaking his hand. "You did well on your own. You didn't need me showing off." "Perhaps," Massey said, his eyes glinting with respect. "But now that we know who you are, maybe you could stop hiding. We could all learn from someone who turned 12 ships into a victory against impossible odds." Annie looked around the amphitheater at the faces filled with admiration, curiosity, and respect. For 3 years, she had carried the weight of that battle alone, hiding behind obscurity. Maybe it was time to stop running from who she had been and embrace who she could become. "All right," she said, her voice stronger now. "But I'm still sitting in the back row." Massey laughed, a strange hissing sound that somehow felt warm. "Deal, though I doubt anyone will let you stay invisible anymore." He was right. Annie's life at the academy transformed overnight, but this time, she was ready. She had fought a war in the stars. She could handle being herself.